Okay, fire away, guys.
Coach, what are your thoughts on Mike Vrabel after working with him all last season? What did he felt like?
Yeah, very excited for Coach in New England. He's going to do a great job. He helped me. I hope we helped him in some way, but he was really a great resource for myself, for our players, our coaches. He did a great job. Me? Okay. So, yeah, my dad would disagree with that, but say it one more time. Oh, you said tanking. That's a great question. I don't have a great answer for you. I'm sure there's rule considerations in how our game is set up versus the NBA, but I'm not sure.
Do you feel your role in this draft is a little more expansive with the quarterback search?
I wouldn't say expansive, Tony. I think you try to be involved in all these decisions and help where I can help, but not any different than before.
What do you want in the team for starting quarterback?
Yeah, I think we're obviously looking in a bunch of different areas there. Where there's some really exciting young players in this draft that you're looking at. There's obviously work to be done in free agency and all those type of things, but I think we're looking in all avenues, if you will. Yeah, not impacting my plans. As you know, Mary Kay, I think the world of Myles. I understand the business of football, and I understand these things happen from time to time. But I expect Myles on our team this year, next year, the year after that, and so on. He's a part of the present. He's a part of the future. Yeah, listen, I respect Myles, but I think in the meantime, I'll keep any conversations between us.
Coach, how difficult is it to separate the business from the personal side? Not let business or work, and become.
Yeah, I think we love the game of football. Sometimes the business of football gets involved, which is just part of it, but it doesn't change the fact that we have a bunch of guys that love to play a kid's game.
Coach, you made some changes to your coaching staff. Brought in 4 coaches, including Mike Bloomgren from the college level. Is there any specific goal there, or you're looking at to have that many college coaches coming up to the pro level?
Well, I think coaches are good coaches regardless of where they come from, high school, college, pro. I do think, as we all know, there's plenty of the game that makes its way up from college into the pros, and I know it works both ways, but there's certainly some exciting things that people are doing in the collegiate game, and it's important for us to understand those things because, as everybody knows, this game is changing. It changes every single year, and you want to make sure that you're staying ahead of it, if that makes sense. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I mean, Coach Callahan is obviously an important person to me and to the way I think about the game, and I take his word very seriously and how he thinks about the game. And when you're talking about people that have worked with him and guys that he knows, that carries some weight with me for sure.
Kevin, would you ideally have a veteran starting quarterback?
I think, like we said to Daniel, we're open-minded to a bunch of different avenues. We'll see how it shakes out. Yeah, we work collaboratively, like you said, Fred. This is an organizational decision in all these things, so I'll work very closely with Andrew, with our entire staff, in making these decisions. I think there's things, it's a good question. I think there's things that you believe in that you want to create a foundation of what you believe in your identity, but then you have to be ready to change depending on who your players are, and players plural, not just the quarterback position. You have to understand what your guys do best. So you're trying to put in a foundation of an offense and then obviously pivot based on the players.
Today's NFL TA survey, some players expressing dissatisfaction with the way their time was handled throughout. Is that something you'll reevaluate assessing this offseason going into the season?
Yeah, we look at things every year. I ask the players to get better year to year. I certainly hope we're getting better year to year. And there's what we do in the offseason is really in search of best practices, if you will. So you're always open to doing things that are better for the football team. Yeah, I also want to win. I also want to win a championship. That's just how we're wired, and we're working very hard towards that goal.
There's a lot of focus on quarterback, but does your running back position need to be rebuilt, and the running game in general need to be rebuilt?
I think the offense, Tony, to your point, we're certainly looking at things in the run game with a new offensive line coach like Coach Bloomgren. With Tommy Reese, we're putting in a system that's going to be certainly new to 2025 Cleveland Browns. As it relates to players, we're always looking to add good players. I like the guys we have in the running back room right this minute, but there's plenty of good players that you're always looking to add.
Kevin, where do you stand with
Sorry, Daniel.
where do you stand with the quarterback class? Do you have kind of a sense of the maybe it's early one time?
We'll see. I think so much of it is you see who the guys that are available. You look at all of them, and then you have to be ready to pivot once March rolls around. But like I said earlier, I mean, I'm open to a bunch of different areas.
Is it important to pair better stylistically with each other?
Yeah, again, I think there's so many moving parts, and you want to just make sure you're adding the right people to your building.
Kevin, with Tommy, what's the process been like the last couple of months? And how much is there a certain alignment been philosophically between you and just based on what, his past at Notre Dame and Alabama when he did at those two?
Yeah, Tommy, we talked about this obviously when we hired Tommy, but feel really strongly about his background and how he sees the game. He's done a really nice job in the weeks that we've been working together with the offensive staff, putting this system together. He's working very hard as we speak with the staff. They're meeting on that now. So we continue to look at everything and make sure that, like I mentioned before, it's about building the foundation and really starting right at square one there, making sure that you have a sound system that you're building upon.
I assume you were involved in the communication with Shooter at the Senior Bowl. What are your initial thoughts on meeting?
Yeah, spent time with Shador today. Spent time with a lot of the players over the last 48 hours. A lot of speed dating going on. But Shador is a very, very impressive young man, was raised the right way. Obviously, he's a heck of a football player. That's evident off the tape, but really impressed with the person. Yeah. Yeah, I think he certainly has a great resource in his dad to understand what it takes to be a great pro. He played for Pat Shermer at Colorado, Pat being a longtime NFL coach, so he understands that as well. So, yeah, I think he's taking advantage of those people close to him.
Is there a particular challenge? Right now you're scheduled to have double-digit draft picks. Is there a particular challenge for you to have that many rookies coming in potentially, and something you need to focus on with that large class?
Yeah, I think every year it's different. Sometimes you have a few more picks than others, and this year certainly you're looking to get quality players and quality people that you want to bring into your building. And then, a big part of what we do as coaches and certainly as an organization is player development. That's a big piece of this. So you're not getting finished products in April. You're getting guys that you're going to bring along in a bunch of different areas, certainly in terms of X's and O's, but also just in teaching them this game, teaching them this job that they're embarking upon.
Kevin, how much do you build on a quarterback here? And then when you get him, for those
Yeah.
how much deeper can you go and how important?
Yeah, I think the 20 minutes here is important. I think you can learn a little bit, albeit quickly. So you try to put some tape on or get them on the board, whatever you do. I know different teams have different philosophies there. But I think you do get something out of these meetings for sure. You get a feel for the person, feel for the player, how they see the game. And then, like you mentioned, you bring guys to Cleveland and you have those 30 visits. Now you can spend a day with them, and you can some things that teams do, and we have a version of this, is you can install plays to them. You can walk through those plays. You can put them on the board and see how they retain those plays. So there's a lot to learn, and this is a piece of it. This Combine is a piece of it. The 30 visits are a piece of it. The pro days are a piece of it. All of it's a big evaluation. It's all encompassing. Don't have it finalized, but we'll be on the road at some of them. Yes. 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 Yeah. Yeah, very, very impressed with Cam as well. Just his career, where he's been, is a unique path, but knows football really well. Was very impressed with his meeting in terms of his recall, going back to his Washington State days, and how he saw defense, how he progressed, how his processing worked. He kind of could talk through all of that. I was very impressed with the young man.
Kevin, what about
Yeah, also talked to Jalen. Yeah, did a nice job. You know, Tommy Reese was with Jalen at Alabama, so spent a year with him, so kind of can explain to me what type of person he is, and he was great. Great personality. Again, fun to watch him talk through their plays. A very competitive kid. He did a nice job.
Kevin, Tommy talked about decision making being the number one trait he looks for in a quarterback. Is that a similar? Do you share that thought, or what is the number one trait when you're looking at a quarterback?
Yeah, decision making obviously is very high on the list. Whether it's 1, 2, 3, accuracy being very important as well. But decision making and like we just talked about, processing. I think every single play as a quarterback, you're doing something. Whether it's a run check or it's a a motion, a decision that you're making based on a safety's depth. All those type of things factor into decision making.
When you interview the quarterbacks today,
Yeah.
very same questions ever
Very similar, yes. To your point, Tony, I think you want to make sure you can compare apples to apples, if you will. But then when you put the tape on, you're really watching their tape, having them talk through their plays. It is, yeah. I mean, I think it's all of these are important to varying degrees. I think accuracy, obviously, that innate ability to put the ball where it needs to be is important. I've been around guys that you wouldn't say have big arms, quote unquote, from arm strength and still get it done. So I think all these players are different. All their traits are different. So that's where it's so important for us right now, down here, on the 30 visits, on the pro days, just to get to know the person, get to know the player.
Kevin, you talked about being open to different styles of quarterbacks, and even Tom's introduction, you talked about wanting to build that kind of a versatile scheme. Philosophically, like why wouldn't you maybe just have a very set scheme that allows you to pinpoint certain players to
Yeah, I think that's not the NFL. I think if you look across the NFL, you have to be ready to pivot in a season, in a the first quarter, the third game. You have to be ready to go if something changes. So I think you've seen different schemes, different coaches, different people have varying styles as part of their scheme. That's just part of the evolution of football. Yeah, disappointed with Sed's injury towards the end of the season, where that really took him out of playing at a really high level for us. So excited for him to finally be healthy now, and looking forward to a really good third year from him.
along the lines of scheme fit. How do you guys kind of balance maybe better fit for what you want to do versus like those kind of guys that have talent?
I think it's our job as coaches to fit talent into our schemes, and I'm talking offense, defense, special teams. You're always looking for talented football players. You don't want to just look only for scheme fit, because then that'll take you away from taking maybe a more talented player.
Shador being the consensus top two quarterbacks this year. Are you at the point where you're happy either one of them?
Yeah, I wouldn't characterize it that way, Mary Kay, other than to say I'm really impressed by Cam, Shador. There's a bunch of guys that I think it's great tape. I think they're really good kids. So there's some really talented players at that position. But then look across the other positions. I mean, it's been a very, very impressive group as I've gotten to talk to them. But certainly you put the tape on it, it's an impressive group overall.
Yesterday, Garrett said foremost that you use Travis Hunter as a receiver over a corner. Are you on the same page with that? And what have you seen in your evaluation?
He's a football player for sure. Yeah, I think our offense coaches want him to be a offensive player. Our defense coaches want him to be a defensive player. So we'll work. We'll talk through those type of things in this spring. I think every building is going to talk through those type of things. But he's a football player. Chuck Bednarik of the modern era.
If you took Travis, would there be some way where you guys would probably try to use him on something else?
I think that's certainly what most teams would be thinking with a player of his caliber.
Your visit, your personally, first time as a head coach, the receiver and the shrine.
Yes. Yeah, hadn't been to East West. Yeah.
So just what were your experiences like being a head coach of the Browns and that much involved in
Yeah, I think the Senior Bowl, obviously, you get on the field closer to the players. I've been to the Senior Bowl, over the course of time. I've coached the Senior Bowl, and then a lot of times if you're not there physically, you're watching every rep of practice. You're watching all the interviews, those type of things. When you're there, now you can kind of bounce around to different places. We had a lot of coaches down there, Tony, this year. We had Jacques Césaire was the defense coordinator. Bubba Ventrone was the head coach of the team. So that was also important for me to get there around them, show them some support as well. I think certain positions, maybe you're. I think if you ask any position coach, they'd say they want to see their position up close and personal. So, line coaches want to see how a guard comes off the ball. Defensive line coaches want to see how a defensive end comes out of a three-point stance. So, I think by position, certain people feel like seeing them in person is really important. I've done it a bunch of different ways, but when you're down there, you also can see how they interact with their teammates, how they interact with their coaches as well.
There's a lot of players who won't participate here at the combine. Is that something you like to find out why they chose not to participate? Obviously, injuries is not an issue, but
Right.
is that something that's important for you to find out why they're not participating?
I think you ask and you have them talk through it, but I understand the dynamics at play with some of those decisions that these guys are making, and they have to do what they think is best for them in these moments.
Hamler's decision not to play the second half of his bowl game, was it a topic in Cleveland Browns?
Yeah, I'm not going to get into specifics of our conversations, Tony, but like we were just talking about, I think there's obviously in this day and age there's a lot of dynamics at play. I did spend time with Abdul Carter. Was it last night? All these days are running together. I'm sorry. Very impressive young man from Philadelphia. I know a lot of people that know him from his high school days. Impressive on the grass. Obviously, you'll see what he can do physically, whether it's here at his pro day. But did a nice job.
You guys never really had a top flight, younger, high-drafted young guy there with Myles. Like, would you like to see that? Maybe Myles kind of better this guy than you guys, two big pieces.
I mean, I'm open to all of this. That's the exciting part, where you can envision all these type of things, and certainly adding a really good player opposite Myles is something, of course, that's intriguing.